let's go live with one more person and then I shall let you go. No, I'm not able to. Okay. I'm going to go live with Monisha. She is extremely inspiring. She has a beautiful daughter who, hi, I let her explain. Let's see if it's actually gone live.
Hi, Tara.
How are you?
Very good, very good. It's so nice to have you do this topic. It's just something where I'm in the midst of right now dealing with.
Yes,
And this
so
is
I'd love to hear your views from you. If you'd like to introduce yourself to our audience, this is,
sure.
as you know, a very spontaneous, impromptu live. Nothing is scripted or planned. But yeah, please
Absolutely.
let everyone know about your amazing kids and about you.
So, this is not the first time I'm meeting you, Tara.
Yes,
We've done a Saturday live earlier, and that was about, Keya, my youngest daughter.
yes.
I'm a mother of two daughters. Both are in fact my eldest has turned into an adult this month, so I have a teenager and an adult in the house now.
Wow, wow.
And today I actually wanted to not speak about Kia. So Kia is my youngest, and she suffers from a debilitating rare disease. Some people who know me, they know about it. But
Yes,
today is not about Kia at all. In fact, I wanted to talk about Naira, and Naira is now graduated from being a teen to a young adult, and it's an amazing I think journey, and very confusing one, honestly, for I think most parents, because kids nowadays are so smart, and it's nice to, I think, grow with them. That's been my experience,
yeah.
because as a parent, nobody comes with a manual, right? Leave alone a special child or not a special child. So it's been like a very diabolic experience for me. But Tara, I have more questions than answers. I would love to know how others are dealing with their teens. I see you doing an amazing
I don't
job. You call
know
yourself a
about
soccer
that.
mom.
Trust me, I don't know about that. There are days when I promise, I actually, literally, honestly, sometimes I'm reduced to tears and I'm like, what am I doing? I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm doing a good job. I don't know. And what gives me some strength is to know that we're not alone, that
Yeah.
everybody is not really an expert. Everybody's figuring it out and doing their best. And
True
the
that.
kids, they test us, and we also test ourselves and test them because we are trying to do the best we're able to do. And
Very
I
true.
think sometimes what I've realized, and I completely agree, is that we're growing with them, we're learning with them. And
Yeah.
what I've actually found is that it's nice to also admit when we've done wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like if
Absolutely.
I've like shouted too hard, or I've been too strict, or I've said something that might have hurt them, which does happen
Right.
because sometimes I'm not able to control my own anger if they've said
Hmm.
something to me, or is to actually take accountability for that and say
Absolutely.
that, yes, I'm sorry I did this. And
Mhm.
because I find that sometimes the fine line of parenting and discipline and
Mhm.
being accountable
Mhm.
is very blurred. Sometimes people feel
Absolutely.
that it's too vulnerable to say sorry because they are the boss, or the
Yeah.
other way around. And yesterday my older son actually said something which made me think. He said, but mama, don't always be so quick to say sorry. It's
Mhm.
not always a good thing. Sometimes you have to really reflect and think, are you really sorry about something, and
I was
do
just
you
saying.
really mean it? So it's
Mm.
very interesting because it made me also question.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying they're so smart, Tara. And the funny part is that if you put them into their shoes, right? Whether it's a teenager or a young adult, and you just look around. I think the startling fact has been for me that they're exposed so much more than each of us are, right? When we were
Absolutely.
growing up.
Yes.
And you never know how that exposure has been impacting and shaping their minds from a very young age. It's something that I think even psychologists today are, they're having a tough time trying to figure this out, because social media, be it friends coming from different backgrounds, just generally everything around, everything is known today. There's nothing that is hidden or can be tabooed from anyone.
Absolutely.
And I think that exposure, I don't know how good or bad it is, but we somehow have to exist within that and still make it work.
Absolutely. But I think again, because I I get scared of that as well, because we don't know actually what
Is
we're,
it so?
because we
Yeah,
don't even know the physical impact of having these gadgets in our hands. Today, I was
yeah,
saying to my one of the kids, I was like, please, don't even hold it for so long, because we don't know. It's frightening. Having said
absolutely.
that, I think on the flip side, in my quest to always try and be an eternal optimist, I think because there's so much more information out there, so much more
Yeah,
knowledge. I
yeah.
think it's also possible to understand certain behaviors,
Hmm.
and find out why things are happening in a certain way and get the right help. So, just as an
Absolutely.
example, certain mental health, and I'm not saying in a negative way, but there are certain triggers or certain things that if you actually look it up, and I've been doing that
Hmm.
quite a lot, researching, there are
Hmm.
actually very clear things like 10, 10 I don't know, 10 signs of this or 10 signs of that,
Ten
or 10 ways
commandments.
to better this or 10 ways
Hmm.
to better that.
Hmm.
And while some
Yeah.
of it may not apply,
Hmm.
some of it is actually very helpful. So, like I said, this whole thing about taking accountability and stuff, I mean, it's something I read up about.
Hmm.
And, different, things that if you want to change in your children to start doing young and in ourselves. I think one of
Hmm.
the things about our generation is that we're a lot more open.
Yeah.
There's a lot of open communication.
Yeah.
My
Hmm.
parents were very open minded, and we did have a lot of open communication. But I do know a lot of people
Hmm.
that are very close to me. Um, you know, parents' word is parents' word, and it is considered disrespectful if you don't listen to the parents. And while I
Yeah.
know culturally that is how we've all been kind of brought up,
Hmm.
I'll be
Hmm.
honest, because I'm half English, maybe somewhere
Hmm.
culturally,
Hmm.
I don't associate respect just with age. To me,
Yeah.
respect is to be earned. I don't feel because somebody is a older family member, just because of
Hmm.
that, they suddenly need some
No,
big
I'm with
respect.
you.
I think it has to be
I'm with you
earned.
on this.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's cultural or what, but so sometimes if the kids are rude to me,
Hmm.
I can't be hypocritical and then change my stance that, listen, I'm your mother, you better be nice. Because I have to earn that respect at some
True.
level, right? So
True.
it's a balancing act
No, and I
constantly
think
between.
also, Tara, every word you're saying is so true. Every word. I think that is the baseline of any relationship. And parenting, I think it is, it's built on that, right? At the end of it. At least in today's times, more than anywhere else in any part of the world, I think most parents are pretty much on the same plane. It's no more that it's like a global village we are in right now. And somewhere I believe that kids today need more of a friend, more than somebody to tell them what is wrong or right, because that information is already there out there, isn't
That's
it?
that's very
It,
that's
it
very true. That's
yeah,
very true. I completely agree. But I do think also the discipline angle
yeah,
has to
yeah,
be. And I mean, for me, I'll be honest. I'm less of the disciplinarian because they don't listen to me as much. Rupak, my husband, when I really need some hardcore support, he has to step in and you know really kind of, yeah, like
luckily you.
sometimes I have to like really like be
Yeah,
really tough about certain things.
absolutely.
And I know that you are also a single mom, so I would like to hear your perspective on
It's
that.
very
To
difficult,
play
Tara. It's
both
very
roles is
difficult.
very hard. Yes,
Yeah, it's
I
very, very difficult being a single mom because I think that, good cop, bad cop, so, that angle goes missing completely. It's so difficult to be strict and a friend being in the same body. And that's, I think, the name of the game of single parenting, right? We think it's so easy that, you're not happy in a relationship, let's break it, let's move out. But I think that partnership that happens in a marriage is scientifically for a reason when you're trying to have a child and rear it, right?
wait for
Rear the kids well, because that is, yeah, that's how it works well. And that's how I think most of us know how to do it well. But when you're single parenting, you don't have any Bible manual, nothing. It's just the kids, and the parent. I think in case of a single, parenthood, I think that's where I don't know. So maybe the friendship has to be thicker so that, and the dialogues have to be more, the understanding levels have to be supreme. Because otherwise, and that's where the maturity kicks in, I think, much earlier for the kids, because then they realize the vacuum that is there, and that we all have to fill it in together. That's how it is.
Yeah,
And it's a lot of responsibility. I wish I had enough words to say it. It's a lot of responsibility which neighbors, relatives, even close friends, very few people can actually, uh, pardon my French, but button and help.
yeah.
It's a very, very fine, very, very fine line.
No, but
But
all, I mean,
I guess
really sending you so much, love and support, because I know really you have so much on your plate and you really do handle it all so impressively. I
not at all.
also having an older sibling, you're talking of Naira,
Yeah,
who has a younger sibling with a very severe
yeah.
disability, who's thriving. But how does that dynamic work? How do you manage to ensure that one is not, honestly, for
Neglected.
want of a
Yeah.
better word, but one is not given way more attention than the other? How do you balance that and make sure they both feel equally important and special? Is that
Mm.
something that you grapple with, or does that happen
No, no,
quite naturally?
absolutely. No, absolutely, Tara. I grapple with it all the time. And I think the only way that I know how to do it well is, so as a human being, I think first, and then a mother next. I think no human being can handle, a very high-end task or many high-end tasks together at the given time, right? So I do it one after the other. So I have to prioritize. When I have to prioritize for Keya, I will prioritize, her needs. Then I have to park her, stabilize her, and then I can focus on Naira. So I've been taking turns. Very honestly, I've been taking turns. That's the only way that I've been sailing through. And then I also have to make time for myself, right? Because it
Yes,
doesn't work otherwise. It just doesn't
absolutely.
work otherwise.
No, in
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
I was going to say that in all relationships, I think boundaries and also taking care of yourself are so
Hmm.
important.
Yeah,
I want to also do, honestly, an episode on in laws, because I think it's a very interesting relationship.
yeah,
I don't want
yeah.
to be personal and I don't
Hmm.
want to talk about personal situations in general, but I think it's a very, if you look at the whole concept of in laws, it's
Yeah.
a relationship that's thrust onto you both ways, where you've not necessarily chosen, or the other way around, but suddenly, especially in an Indian context, everyone's his family.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting concept because
Hmm.
the other day I was talking to one of my dear makeup artists, and she was telling me in her Catholic in their community, they don't call their in-laws mom or dad or anything like that. They continue to say auntie or uncle because they don't think of it as suddenly
Ah.
one family in the same way. And it was very interesting
Hmm.
to me because even for me, the English side of my family, there is still, you don't do that. In
Hmm.
India, it's like suddenly you are
Two
and
moms,
so I feel
two
like
dads.
I
Yeah.
feel like,
Hmm.
frankly, and this is again something that I've slowly, as we get older, we learn about ourselves. I think with all kindness and respect and love, boundaries in life are very important. Boundaries to
Absolutely.
protect yourself, boundaries to protect your immediate family, and to kind of, even with friends or with anyone, to
Hmm.
be the best version of yourself. And some people are able to have everyone, it's like a small thing, right? Like many of us live now in nuclear families, right?
Hmm.
And the concept of having a lot of people to stay or whatever else may not be
Hmm.
as it is maybe in a bigger joint family, right?
True that.
So it feel like, am I being a bad person if I'm not able to do this, or am I being
Hmm.
unkind? I think
Hmm.
these are things that we all need to start rethinking and understanding that every individual is different. And if you put your
Absolutely.
points across in a kind way, we have to
Hmm.
appreciate and understand everyone's different points of view. That's why one of the things that happened after starting the Tara Sharma show is people kept saying my tagline became each to their own, because actually one of the biggest discoveries from speaking to so many different people is that we're all so different and yet we're all the
Absolutely.
same. There's so much,
Absolutely.
to not judge but to respect each other
Yeah.
and to stand up for yourself. I think it's very important,
No,
even
Tara,
with our
you are
parenting.
spot on, and I think you need to talk about these, because if you have noticed what the younger generation has started thinking is, let's not marry, let's not have kids, because they're not being able to decipher these finalities of things. If you know what I'm trying to say, these relationships are so deep, they're so age old, and there is this thing called the gen gap, right, which has just been growing and growing and growing, and there are very few bridges. Unless you come from a educated, open-minded family, these bridges actually don't exist in the society, right? Go to the
Yes.
suburban areas, go to the rural areas, these divides have become like unbridgeable today. And
Yes.
you have the rural folk coming to the cities. They are the ones who work into our houses as maids and drivers, and ultimately it's affecting the entire ecosystem if you look at it, because we depend on them. And the more nuclear we get, the dependencies are growing. So I think it needs to be talked about at every level, because what do these relationships ultimately mean? What are the positives of these? What are the negatives of
See,
these? And how do we
yeah,
change with time?
absolutely. But
Right?
it's interesting that you talk about house help, and because I find that I sometimes chat to our house help, frankly, about how do they manage their kids. If I'm fighting with mine, I'm like, how do you manage and all? Because, you know, one of our help has similar aged kids, and it's interesting that these things are quite universal, a lot of them,
Yeah.
and you can get so much help from understanding both ways that how people deal. And also going back to the relationship with in-laws and things, I was very actually, I don't want to use the word impressed in the wrong way, but she was saying to me that she actually stood up
Yeah.
and voiced content at being treated in a certain way. And
Mm.
I'm so proud in my own way to think, because that culturally to be able to do that is huge.
Yes.
But there's
That's
so much to
pretty.
chat about and so much to say. So I would love to have this longer conversation
Mm.
and have more people on. I think this is a huge space. Teenage years, family dynamics, uh, cultural. What comes from the heart and what feels forced. I think in life, more often than not, like we all say, when you do things from the heart, it's real. When you do things because you are meant to, or because society says you need to, it is never really real. And I think to manage to get our kids, because it's a fine line, right? There's certain things we want them to do because we're their parents, but then there's certain things that we want them also to do just because they feel it. So I think there's just so much to say. So I won't go on, but it was so lovely chatting. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Tara.
joining.
It's always
Thank
a
you. Always a
pleasure meeting
pleasure.
you.
And lots of love to the girls. And thanks so much for joining.
Thank you. Have a good time. And I'll be listening. I'll be listening. Bye.
Thank you. Same